Hi loves, welcome back. And welcome back to another episode of Monthly Album Faves. Yay! So go figure getting a March album faves in May of fall months. Well, I mean, better late than never, I say. There is a variety of reasons why I decided to re-record this, because I didn't like the original recording of my album faves, mostly because it got a bit too rambly and a bit too ranty, and I'm not gonna sit through my own rants. And also just mostly due to the fact that some albums grew out of me and some albums grew into me. So this list is somewhat updated in a way and probably more in tune with what I personally like and what has stuck with me until now. So this is the updated version of the monthly album phase for the month of March. Will you get an April one sometime soon? No promises right there. I still haven't caught up with any of I haven't caught up with most of April's releases. I will try to soon because I wasn't in the right headspace to check out most new releases in April, but hopefully I will soon. I really am looking forward to checking out April stuff and see what gems I can find in there, what good albums I can find from there. But yeah, for now just have this March album review, So yeah, let's just get right into it. Here are my favorite albums in March 2022. Let's get it.
Sometimes you just gotta live it out. I wish you could live it.
So the first album I'm going to talk about is Four-Way Flashers by Overs. Now, I have never heard of Overs before, and when I saw the title of the album as well as the album art, I was expecting a bit worse. No, not worse, way worse actually. I thought it was gonna be like some kind of like shitty trap affair. I gave it a listen and I'm surprised by it. I really like the blend of the boom bap nature with like some kind of like old school hip hop, almost akin to like 90s. I can definitely feel that sort of 90s hip hop energy in it. It's almost kind of Beastie Boys kind of sounding. With a little bit of race car imagery. A lot of the titles on this album are connected to racer terminology, for example, terminal and isn't there like a gas, not gas, I was gonna say gas pedal. Why did I say gas pedal? Yeah, but I just remembered that the titles on this album, the song titles are mostly like eraser imagery, which I really like the consistency of. I really like it. The music is also pretty consistent. It's one of those albums that even if I don't go back to visit that often, it still lingers in my mind for a pretty decent amount of time. I still think about this album until this very day. Actually, I really like the delivery of the raps in this album. I really like how well everything just flows together from start to finish. There's a bit of gaps here and there, especially with the choice of genres in some of the songs, but I would say that I'm taking this hip-hop album, honestly. I do really think it really caters to my personal taste of what I want to hear in a hip-hop album, and yeah, I really should spend time with it more actually, because I really do think fondly of this album for some reason, yeah.
Now you must acquire a taste for freeform jazz.
Love elevated, crack levitated.
So next we have Museum, Opus 4 by Museum. Now, correct me if I'm wrong if I'm saying this wrong. Is it Museum? I don't know, but I'm pronouncing it as Museum. Yeah, so yeah, Museum Opus 4 is a collection of songs per se produced by the producer Museum, and the artists that they enlisted under this album usually varies from album to album. I did start listening to Museum since their Opus 2 album, which I sort of decently liked, but it didn't really quite hit the mark for me because, with compilation albums, it tends to be, there's a certain level that you can expect from a compilation album, which is you're not going to get the most consistent track listing ever. None of the songs are going to fit in with each other, and that's perfectly fine. Is meant to be a collection of songs rather than like an actual cohesive body of work. And this album is the same as well, even though I actually like the choice of genres more than the previous two opuses, Opus 2 and Opus 3 that I've listened to of Museum thus far, simply because I really do like the choice of genres in there. I really like some of the songs in there. For example, The Blood, really unexpected song. I wasn't expecting me to like this really dark like avant-garde, like IDM type sound, but I really dig it. The blood is seriously really good. I'm not so sure if you need to have an acquired taste to enjoy the blood, but I really, it, more than anything, I'm really interested by it, and I'm really interested because I keep thinking about it a lot. It's one of those songs that leave a very lasting impact in my mind. Other songs that I really like are 707 and Hold Me Tight. 707 is much more R&B sounding, very R&B, darker R&B, while Hold Me Tight is much more of like a very deep housey kind of sound. Like I said, the genres are varied from track to track, but I would say that the choice of genres paired with the really excellent vocal performances just makes for a really outstanding experience in particular, even if it's meant to be like songs that are just piled together in a playlist type situation. But I do really think that it holds stuff up really well,
Every Monday, let's play. Every Tuesday, we dance.
So next we have Glitch Mode by NCT Dream. Okay, so when it comes to NCT, I kind of have a love-hate relationship with them, wherein I may not be the biggest fan of their title tracks, and that led me to believe that I'm not going to like their albums as well. But then every single time I listen to their albums, and I find myself actually thinking that it's better than usual because the B-sides usually just slap every single time. Oh my goodness. And Glitch Mode is no exception. I really like the handful of songs they chose for Glitch Mode. It does have a sort of flow to it in a way that NCT Dream usually executes quite well with their albums, and also Glitch Mode. It definitely executes this flow the best out of all the albums, mostly due to being a full-length album. But like the last full-length album, Hot Sauce, is actually pretty, let's just say it's a little bit too sloppy for my taste in terms of pacing. But this album pacing is much better for me for Glitch Mode. I really like the choice of genres in this album. I really like songs like Saturday Drip, which is playing in the much more playful hip-hop nature of Glitch Mode. Similarly, a lot of the songs in this album kind of started off with like a very playful boyish vibe, and then when you progress through the album, you get a much more like boy next door, after school kind of boyish vibe, and it really covers like the full spectrum of the youthful energy that NCT Dream is very known for. So yeah, I do have a very decently good impression of this album. Some of my favorite songs on the album are Replay, Saturday Drip, aforementioned, and Never Goodbye. Never Goodbye is such a really good ballad. Oh my goodness, very smooth pop ballad affair. Chef's kiss. NCT just does pop ballads surprisingly well, honestly. But yeah, I think that Glitch Mode kind of holds up decently well. I think in the pantheon of NCT releases, I would put Glitch Mode right up there. My favorite NCT releases. It's just really good, honestly. So next we have For Better or Worse by Kim Da. So Kim Da is an indie name that I've also never heard of before, but oh we, but I really like this album a lot. This album is really different in a way that you kind of go into it thinking that it's kind of your standard like indie pop affair, but then as you get into the album, you get these glitches and these really intricate sound design and production that is very different. It's very experimental in a way that it's not in your face experimental, but it's very subtle. It's subtle that gives you a very unsettling effect, and I like that. This album gives me a much more, I guess you could say, like a very glitchier version of Phoebe Bridgers. I recently started listening to Phoebe Bridgers. I think she's fantastic. So, and also Kim Da kind of gives me the same vibes as Phoebe Bridgers, but in a much more like very unsettling kind of vibe. Almost like teetering the line between like horror movie, but like not too in your face horror movie, or like some kind of like like the unsettling calamity of I feel calm but like something's missing. So yeah, this album is just really something else, I think. Some of my favorite songs on this album are Paranoia, really good. I like Paranoia a lot. Lost, Isolation. I think these 3 songs are kind of my personal favorites on the album in particular, just due to the execution of the songs in particular, in the way that her very like quiet, very hushed delivery is really just doing it for me, you know? Also, I love the album art. I love the mural painting of the butterfly wings as well as the rainy clouds on top of her. I really like this album art a lot. It's really, really well done. So yeah, I really recommend this album heavily to anyone who just really likes to feel unsettling calm calamity. I think you would really like this one a lot.
You and I 우리끼리 너무나도 사랑했잖아.
So next we have Thank You by Brave Girls. So Brave Girls is back, and I really do enjoy this album quite a bit actually. This album is very retro-y and disco-y in a way that it's very harkening back to not only just the disco era, you know, I mean of course every single disco track harkens back to the 80s in some degree, you know, but weirdly enough this also harkens back to the glory, not glory days, but like the heyday of Brave sound and Brave Brothers in particular, where they used to produce songs like this, you know, the type of songs that are just very like 4 chords basic pop music type affair, but it's pop music that works for some reason. They make pop music that even though they sound simple, but the production behind it is very effective in creating a sort of very catchy and memorable punch to it, and that is the nostalgic second gen sounding sound that they're trying to replicate for Brave Girls' current discography, I believe. Yeah. Also, all the lights has been turned off in the house. I'm literally filming this video in the dark right now, but you know what? It helps with the vibes. I can deal with this. Also, if you guys hear fireworks outside, forgive me because it's Eid and my neighbors are usually around this time would just blow fireworks up in the sky. So yeah. Okay, back to Brave Girls. So what I really like about this album is that, well, first is the nostalgia factor. It harkens back to second gen pop music, and second of all, it's something that Brave Girls actually has the talent and vocals to do so. Like they get to execute these kinds of pop music really nicely. The vocal talents of Brave Girls are simply to not underestimate at all. And also the B-sides. The B-sides are also really good as well, especially songs like Can I Love You and You and I. Can I Love You in particular also harkens back to second gen pop music, you know, that's kind of like the same 4 chords over and over again with like the galloping melody and the sparkling synths and whatnot, you know. It kind of reminds me of like what After School or Jewelry would release, something like that. Good old days, you know. But yeah, I think Thank You by Brave Girls is definitely your album. If you're someone who is very nostalgic for second gen pop music, I think this is the album for you. I mean, granted, you know, Brave Girls are indeed a second gen group, but it's really nice to see them just still bringing the second gen sound in the fourth gen landscape.
어려운 days. Look at me when others keep.
So next we have New World by 9i. I initially didn't include this album in my review actually, simply because while I do like it, I kind of just shove it to the side as an honorable mention of sorts, and I didn't really think about it that much, you know, but oh boy, I think since that day I've been listening to the tracks of the album quite a bit, and I have grown to like it. The album as a whole, there is quite a lot of intricate quirks that I really appreciate about this album that just makes this album, while despite its imperfections, really makes it somewhat of a standout to me. And quietly, it also stands out amongst other pop albums of its caliber in the month of March actually. The songs are really well crafted and engineered actually. The song lyrics are also really great to read as well for some reason. Like, it's one thing that I like the melody of the songs on albums, but it's another thing that if I read the lyrics, and I can actually it felt like I'm reading a story or something like that, you know. It just felt like I'm reading someone's diary or journal in a way. The way that it's written makes me feel like I'm reading someone's personal diary or something like that. Like that of an angsty teenager, I think. Like an angsty teenager's personal diary. or something. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't feel like it in the title track, which again, if you guys know anything about me, I recently really like songs that uses space imagery to describe love. I think that it's a very larger than life way to describe love that transcends the cosmos. In a way, something similar to Marvelous by Mire, where they use the imagery of Mars to show that they are willing to describe a love so grand that is like akin to a sunset in Mars. You know what I mean? But yeah, the parallel universes song soundscape is very enticing to me because I like the future pop aspect of it. Wait, it's not future pop. Maybe it's future bass. I don't know. But it's future bass / future pop kind of aspect really just seals it over the top. But the lyrics are just so lovely to read. I can go on and on about the lyrics, but we're moving on to the other tracks. The other B-sides that I really like in this album are Wasted Youth, which is very, I guess can say like very new wave / dream pop type sound, almost you can hear T by T or Luna doing or something like that. It's very youthful in a way, but it also sounds like quietly enough they're also saying about the pain of youth. It's not as obvious of a pain of youth as T by T with I'm a loser in this game, I'm a loser type pain of youth, but it's the pain of youth that is very just it's the little things, very subtle things, such as playing hooky from class or subtly bringing an extra bottle of like Coke to your class when the class rule says don't bring soft drinks or fast food to class or something like that. It's those tiny moments, like rebellious moments, that while they're not as like bashing the windows with a baseball bat type of rebellious moments, it's those moments that it's just a simple but cheeky yet mischievous moments that all of us have done before in our lives, and that's what makes it very relatable in a way. Actually, I really like the execution of Wasted Youth as a song. It could be better because there are some holes in the song. I mean, as per the rest of the album, actually it does have its fair share of imperfections actually, but I do think that it's these imperfections that really what makes this album so human in a way. I think that the takeaway I can get from this album is that it sounds very human. Days as well also sounds very human in the aspect that even it's sounds very pop rock, but the way that they're executing the song, Days as well as Wasted Youth, these two songs really capture the pain of youth in a different lens in a way, written in a different lens. Look, listen to me, this can be its own analysis video. Actually, I can go on and on about the pain of youth and whatnot, but just so you know that I just really like this debut album a lot. Is it perfect? It's not the perfect debut album actually, but it doesn't have to be perfect. I think we are accustomed to K-pop and we're expecting perfection too much, to the point that whenever we listen to a slight imperfection in an album or in a song, we tend to be like nitpicky about it, like, oh, look at this, dang, like the production error, or like, oh, look at this shitty music video, and I'm guilty of that actually. I'm not a saint, I'm guilty of doing that as well, but it's albums like this that humbles me a little bit, and kind of reminds me that, hey, we don't have to be the most well-produced, well-made pop music in the world for you to actually enjoy music. Music is music, despite music is music, art is art. And no matter how perfect or imperfect your craft is, you're still arting to a certain extent, actually. And I think just the fact that this album is just entirely self-produced by like one or two people in the group actually really makes this all the more enduring, because it almost feels to me like someone's arts and crafts project that they just presented to their teacher, and the teacher is like, oh, that's really cute, I'm hanging up to my refrigerator or something like that. Like they're pride and joy, and it just gives me a kind of vibes, it's really endearing, it's very sweet and very human. This album is human, and I like that. So next we have Daydream by Highlight. So Highlight is back with a spring album. Well, I mean, kind of spring-ish album. Not in the way that their last album, Not the End, The Blowing is a spring album. In a way that the genres definitely scream spring. This one is definitely more of a collage of different genres mixed together, but I would say the overall vibe still feels like spring in a way that Highlight's execution of music in this album just feels like the warm spring breeze. I don't know. Maybe I'm just imagining stuff, but yeah. I'm just over imagining stuff at this point, what the heck. But yeah, Highlight's pop music definitely felt more. Initially, in my first review, I said their music's more adventurous, but I didn't really think that way. It's not like they venture off to doing really crazy electronic music, like psytrance or EDM or future pop or something like that, But in a way that they kind of try to see what they can do with their pop music and then try to push that even further with this one while still maintaining within the limits of their own strengths and capabilities, and I think that's really great. Highlight is always trying to improve themselves in their crafts, and rather than trying to change themselves and go into a completely different direction altogether, they take whatever they can do and see what else they can tinker with it, what else they can do with it, and make sure that it still sounds like them, but then it sounds different at the same time. So my favorite songs on this album are Whatever is really good, you guys. I really like Whatever. It's very chill hoppy, very nice. I love it. And it's also very bitter at the edges. It's just so petty. I don't know why. When I read the lyrics for Whatever, it just sounds so petty. It's like that one bitter breakup song. It's like, yeah, right. Get lost and fuck off, I guess. But it done in a very cute chill hop way, and this is my favorite kind of chill hop music, honestly. I also really like Seven Wonders. Oh god, Seven Wonders is just so groovy and funky and bassy, and I love that. Oh my goodness, it's so groovy, funky. I like it. And of course, you have your fair share of your highlight fare. You have Lovely Day, which is very spring-like, I mean, it's not a highlight album if you don't have your spring-like songs in there. Lovely Day is just one of it. Nightfall is also really classic highlight ballad. And of course, I cannot leave out the title track. The title track, Daydream, is just so quintessential highlight to me in a sense that it's very nostalgic boy group pop. Very sentimental, very nostalgic, very yearnful, full of emotion and heart poured into it. It's like they take all of their sorrows and emotions and put it in a blender and sprinkle all over the song. Fantastic. I really just felt all the emotion in the song. But what's the funny part about this song is that after the whole chorus, where everyone is just feeling so sentimental, and then they're just shuffling to the right to some kind of violin dance break. It's really cute to me. I don't know why. I don't know why. I like the fact that Highlight uses violin instead of electronic instrumentation as some kind of instrumental drop, how other groups tend to be brah brah brah, when they're instrumental drops, but then Highlight is what, let us use a violin because we can, and it sounds cooler and classier, and it works for them, I think. There's also other great songs in there. There's quite a good amount of ballads in there. There's a good amount of R&B stuff in there, a good amount of pop stuff in there that I think that really just solidify this album into something that Highlight can do. Is it the most cohesive album I listened to? Probably not, but every single song is strong enough in its own merits that when put together, it just creates a magical blend of a cohesive listening experience and the really good display of what Highlight can do. So next is Bleach by Glencheck. Okay, my first exposure to Glencheck was back in 2012 actually. They are actually in fact the first ever indie act in Korean music I ever encountered in my life. So they have a special place in my heart, and I really do just like their music a lot. So when I saw that they actually released a full-length album, I was ecstatic. I was over the moon, overjoyed. I love it. These really long mammoth track list aside, I really just liked how vibey this album is in committing to the end for like the synth pop. The synth pop in this album is just so robust and so lush and massive. It just felt like you're in a massive dance party, you know? But I mean, it's not a dance party with a lot of people, but it's like a dance party on your own. You're doing a dance party by yourself at home, which is way cooler actually, especially for someone who really doesn't do all too well in dance parties. The tracks on this album is just full of synthy goodness. Dazed and Confused is very synth wavy in a way that the very like striking synth really takes you on a ride across the skies. You know, it felt like you're flying in the skies. It's just very, it just feels like you're soaring through the skies. I also really like synths. Synths is my favorite song on the album, by the way. I love synths. Synths is just so, I had an out-of-body experience listening to synths for the first time. It's very bright, it's very energetic, but in a way it also felt very, I guess I could say like it's very unsettling and in its calamity, you know, like it's very like Murder on the Dance Floor, Crying in the Club type dance anthem, you know. It's like minor keyed synth production is what really gets me the most. I also really like Raving. Raving is just the sad dance anthem that we all need in life, honestly. And like there's a lot of other songs in there as well, but like, oh my god, sometimes you gotta shake it off. When I first listened to it, I was like, why is the song finished so fast? And I just realized it's an interlude. Stop making your interludes way too short. I need the full versions right now. There's a handful of interludes out there that I just really just beg for a full song, please. It's the same as intros as well. There are some intros, magnificent intros that I've heard that is great in music, but they just, it's only less than a minute long. It hurts my soul. Oh my god. But yeah, go listen to this album if you really like synthy goodness. Like if you just like synthy goodness, like great synthy goodness, this is probably my favorite band album that's ever released in 2022 thus far. I highly recommend this album a lot. So next we have Forget Me Not by Lavender. Okay, when I saw the album art and the way that the track list is, the titles, song titles and whatnot, you know, I knew that it's gonna be my album. I know it's gonna be a spring type album just from the album art, and goddamn did it deliver. I love this album to bits. It's one of those chill hop albums that it's just so charming and so cute. I cannot hate on these albums. I'm just so easy to impress with these spring type chill hop albums for some reason. And for some reason this chill hop album also sticks out to me in a way like other chill hop albums. Like, you know, I like all kinds of chill hop albums, you know. I'm a chill hop aficionado, so I like chill hop so much, but this album is just so special to me for some reason. There are songs like, you know, Way Too Good, which is very, like, I guess I could say it's very sing-along ability, you know, it's very slightly like choir type, you know, you can follow along with the chorus, very catchy, sticks in your head, especially when Lavender sings Way Too Good. Oh my god, this part of the song really just gets stuck in my head for so long. Oh my goodness. And of course we have other songs like, you know, Ma Chérie and Nobody Like You. Also nice, you know. There's like varying levels of chill hop in this, you know. You have your bright chill hop, you have your wholesome chill hop, but there's also your very like muted low tempo chill hop that is just also very like dark and gloomy on the edges, you know. And this kind of like diversity of this like specific genre of chill hop is what really makes me like this album in particular. It's chill hop, but it's also kind of diverse in a way, but it doesn't go overly diverse to the point that it doesn't fit with the rest of the album. I think that this album really just wins in terms of subtle but effective, minimalist album track listing and execution in particular. Like, it doesn't really stand out in major ways, but it's the kind of minimalist subtlety that really just gets to me, and it really just makes me appreciate the finer details in a song. So yeah, chef's kiss to this. I'm really looking forward to this artist in the future. Also, this is a debut album. I'm even more surprised that this is a debut album. So yeah, definitely going into my top 5 debut albums of the year by the end of the year, honestly.
Let's go loud, turn it down. Yeah! 이런 소란이 질릴 때까지 팍팍팍팍.
And finally, we have Liberty in the Cosmos by Gravity. Oh god, I need to find a way to actually go about this a bit faster, because once I start talking about Gravity, I will never shut up. And I've already recorded for half an hour already. Yeesh. Okay, let's just see what I can do for this one. Okay, so Gravity is back with a second part of their first full-length album, and I would say that this between this and their first part of the first full-length album, I would say that these two albums create a harmonious blend of what I can only describe as Gravity's best producing efforts to date. Gravity's best produced pop to date. I mean, of course, they always deliver with the very well-produced pop music in a way that it really just feels very punchy and endemic and very story-driven. But this album is so special because not only does it achieve like the pop perfection that they have trying to hone in their discography, but it also does it in a way that is very cohesive all the way through across both parts. You know, it's not like one part is like a completely different vibe from the other part, you know. I think when it comes to multi-part releases, they tend to fall into the trap of forgetting that, oh, this is actually part of a whole album, you know, so the cohesivity is not there anymore. But so far what I see of Gravity's first full-length album is definitely very cohesive across all songs, all 14 songs, minus the intro and outro, I guess. But let's just talk about part 2 for now, because this is the part that is actually featured in this video. I did talk about part 1, but the review was stuck in the abyss somewhere, never to be seen again, because I didn't edit the August faves, album faves. Yikes me. Okay. So Liberty of Cosmos is very bright and very celebratory in a way that, you know, the Awakening of Cosmos is much more grittier and a lot more, I guess I could say, like coarser in the texture, while this one, while it's still like gritty, you know, they kind of smooth it out a little bit with a more youthful take on the brash and bold theming of this full-length album. Actually, we have the very well-produced Adrenaline, which I regard as probably the best produced boy group pop music of this year so far. I don't know, it's too early to tell, but I just love the production of Adrenaline. There's so much detail in this song that I can actually gush over for days on end. I wanted to do a detailed analysis on Gravity in the near future, actually, that will go into detail on some of the things Adrenaline does well. But yeah, Adrenaline is just so good. Well produced. Not just Adrenaline, but the B-sides are also just wow. I'm always consistently impressed by how Gravity just delivers it time and time again, that making music that I personally really enjoy all the time. Like this kind of consistency is just something that I personally love from Gravity as well. We have Pow, which is a song by nature I shouldn't like as much as I do, but I like it a lot, and it hurts me because it's a song that I terribly am so in love with. Seriously, I am just in love with Pow, even though it's so loud and rowdy and brash and bold, but like it's so fun. I had fun listening to it. It makes me happy. But also production choices. Again, the production in this song is really good, despite being a very, I guess I could say, like very all over the place chaotic song. The production did its best to actually supplement the chaos, which also could have been an analysis on itself, but we gotta move forward because I need to sleep. So yeah. We have Chandelier, which is also really good. It definitely reminds me a little bit of Celebrate from the first part of the album, where it's just very like braggadocious, very endemic braggadocious anthem, you know, something similar to Celebrate in the last part, you know, very nice. And then what else? Boppin. Boppin in nature reminds me so much of Veni Vidi Vici from the first part, which is very regal and royal and very like smooth pop music, I would say, almost, you know, very anthemic but also quite regal, like a very princely type music, I would say. So I would say that Veni Vidi Vici and Boppin are like the calcomanis of each other, if that makes sense. So I would say that they mirror each other the same way as how Chandelier also mirrors Celebrate a bit, you know. And then Flip the Frame. Flip the Frame is so good, you guys. God, I love the subversive chorus where everyone just whispers in the chorus. I like that. Gravity just whispers a lot in their songs, and it just makes me so happy to see an idol group just utilizing dynamics like that. It's not just like a one-time thing that they whisper in a song and then just done with it. No, they committed to that specific branding across every single album, and the consistency is immaculate. But the way they whisper it really makes it all the more intimidating compared to if they were to like shout the chorus. Them whispering it makes them seem much more badass if you think about it, in a way, you know. But and also Taeyong's part in Flip the Frame is easily my favorite. What a bubble, we got the moves. Get on that, she don't snooze. That song, that part of the song is so good. Why do I remember the lyrics for that though? That what are the other two songs though? There's Late Night and there's Maybe Baby. Maybe Baby is also really wholesome. I like it slightly less than the rest of the tracks on the album for some reason, but Maybe Baby is just so wholesome. They gotta have their wholesome song in one of these albums, like something that really just tastes like cotton candy, you know? I also am happy that they performed Maybe Baby on stage. That was really great. I like the outfits for Maybe Baby as well. And then Late Night. Late Night is just a good way to cut off the album. It's very anthemic, it's very like wholesome, very campfire-y type song, you know, where it's like every single person at campfire just sings it as a form of solidarity in a way. Really nice. And also fitting because I'm filming this late at night, so late night, you know. So altogether, there's a lot more about this album that I really want to discuss about in my upcoming long dissertation about Gravity's discography sometime in the future. There's a lot more I want to talk about, so I'll just keep it at that for this video. But a big takeaway that I am gonna give for this album is that this album is just a good example of this deconstruction of pop music, and then how they reconstruct pop music in a way that not only befits the current times and generation, but they reinvent what it means for pop music to sound like in a way that still feels like pop music, but it's also pretty innovative at the same time. Like, you're still listening to pop music, you're still listening to the standard song structure of like a verse, pre-chorus, chorus, bridge, blah blah blah, but then it's the way that they deconstruct these components and then construct them in sections, you know, like in different compartments, and then put them together in a way that sounds something that stands out from the pack in a way. It's the production that does the job. There's also the vocal production. There's also the vocal performances and the way that they tell stories in the album and how they execute different story points in the lyrics as well. Even though the lyrics might sound a bit ridiculous at times. I mean, what the fuck even is haters gotta hate, I got an issue with ballers. Like, how do you even execute that in a normal sentence? But like the way that you say it in the song, the vocal performance really just sells it, you know. It's a different aspects that really comes together to create this sort of successful deconstruction of pop music. I would say that if a time traveler were to come from the past into now, which is the future for them, and ask me, hey Yasmin, what do you think is the music that defines this generation of K-pop? Just give me one group. Because that person probably came from the first generation, I guess, but like I would probably tell them Gravity. I would, without doubt, I would say it's Gravity. They're consistently very, I guess you can say like very consistent with their pop music since they debuted, and remaking pop music in ways that felt very like grand spectacle, almost like grand spectacles in one point, but also they also can seem as, you know, diary entries or like little tiny short stories that you listen to, you know. I don't know, there's so much about gravity discography that I would like to discuss about in my upcoming video essay that I'm still working on. The script is getting longer as we speak, but hopefully I'll get to finish it sometime soon. No promises when it's gonna come out. Probably, if it's not this month, probably next month. If it's not next month, probably the month after that. But I just want to work on it in my own pace because it's a project currently that I'm just really truly passionate about right now. So yeah, I really am looking forward to getting the gravity essay out eventually. But just so you know, I really like this album and I spent so much time with it and I had plenty of fun listening to it throughout the month of March. It's just so good. I love it so much. And yeah, that is it for my review of March albums. Yay! Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'm heading off to bed right now. All the lights are off. Why am I still talking in the dark? Beats me. But yeah, go listen to all these albums and see if you can find something that you can have a good time with. But until then, stay safe, take care, and as always, be excellent to each other. Bye, loves.